just so we have a record of it. And hello, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for being here today. I'm seeing all the attendees come on in. We're happy to have you. We're excited to talk to you about citizen science. I'm going to go live on Facebook. So let's share in an event. Do this event, the one everybody RSVP'd to. Okay, let's see. I don't have permission to upload video there, so let's do it live on SciStarter's Facebook page. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Okay, we're about to go live on Facebook. Thanks everyone for bearing with us as we get started. Feel free to say hello in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. Someone said we'll be recorded and repeated on Facebook. Yes, we're actually going live right now on Facebook as we speak. It's getting the live stream all set up, so you'll be able to watch it again later or share it with friends who weren't here with us. And as you can see, we just got an alert that it is indeed live on Facebook, which is great. I'm going to go to that Facebook event where people had RSVP'd and just post the link there to make sure everyone has a chance to be here with us today and learn about citizen science. I want to give a big thank you to our friends at the Four Seasons for making this possible. So I'm saying tune in now. I'm doing the link. And let me add it to our Facebook group so as many friends and family can tune in with us today.
Nice.
Citizen science, that's a great fit for retirees and anyone who cares. All right, so my name is, and we have people tuning in from everywhere. Let's see where some people are coming in from. We have someone from Millington, Vermont. We got people from Texas. We have someone from Canberra, Australia, Croatia, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Oh my gosh, this is also exciting. Someone from Indiana, their Parks and Recreation Department, Colorado, another person from Canberra, Australia, sunny Los Angeles, somebody from New Jersey. All right, very exciting. So I'm going to go ahead and get our presentation going. So let me share my screen. So the theme of today's event is SciStarter, citizen science, and how you can help. And this event was created because SciStarter partnered with the Four Seasons community in New Jersey. So I'm Caroline Nickerson. I'm from the SciStarter team, and I'll introduce myself in a second. But first, I want to quickly pass the mic to Lucy, my partner in crime for this event, or I guess partner in citizen science is a better way to phrase it, partner in doing good for the world. Lucy, it'd be great if you could quickly introduce yourself. And for those, it seems like we have a lot of people from everywhere tuning in. So from those who aren't from the Four Seasons, it'd be great if you could briefly explain what that is. So feel free to introduce yourself and introduce the Four Seasons.
Okay, well, I'm Lucy Giroux, and I'm a member of the Community Education Committee here at Four Seasons. So greetings from all of us at Four Seasons. We're a 55 and over community. And because of the pandemic, of course, our clubhouse is closed down. So we've been doing a lot on Zoom, and we're pleased to have the SciStarter presentation today. And I shared it on my Facebook, and I know Bonnie did, and many of the others. So I'm not sure how everybody got hooked in, but I'm so glad to see so many from all over the world. But we look forward to learning more about citizen science and how we can help support the science world and support the work of scientists. So I'm gonna, I want to mention that one of our, that the founder of SciStarter is Darlene Cavalier, who is a professor at Arizona State University and also the daughter-in-law of Four Seasons residents. Bonnie and Ron Cavalier. So we thank Bonnie for recommending this program to us, and we're pleased to have so many join in. So I'll turn it back over to you, Caroline.
Yeah, and Bonnie, if you don't mind being put on the spot, I'd love if you could say hello too.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad everyone is joining from all over here in Smithville and friends from far and near. And I'm the very proud mother-in-law of the founder of SciStarter, Darlene Cavalier. And I discussed with Darlene many times how much I enjoy the projects, learning about nature and science research. And I was sure that my friends would also enjoy it. And that was why I had the idea to share it with our education committee. And Lucy and Caroline have done an excellent job putting this together. And I hope everyone enjoys today's presentation. And thank you so much for making this available to everyone.
Yeah, and for our friends globally, all of the projects we talk about today and all the concepts can be done from anywhere. We picked the featured projects after discussing together and figuring out, like, what do we think folks at the Four Seasons New Jersey would really like? But all the featured projects are global, so you should be able to do them from anywhere in the world. So to get us started, I am going to quickly do some polls with you, just because I want to know a little bit about you. So the polls should pop up on your screen. And if you're tuning in on Facebook, feel free to just answer in the Facebook comments. So our first poll question is, are you part of the Four Seasons? So that's the community of 55 and older folks who helped us put on this event today. Oh, wow. So the votes are coming in. You all can't see it yet. I'm going to give you all a few more seconds to vote. But it looks like the majority of you actually aren't part of the Four Seasons group. So, all right, I'll let those votes come in. Get your votes in. 3, 2, 1, and I'm gonna end the poll. We'll share our results. So it looks like about 77% of you are from outside the Four Seasons, but about 20% of you are from the Four Seasons group. So we got a good global community going on, and I'm glad that we also have our friends at Four Seasons here too. So let's do our next poll. So I'm just curious, had you heard of SciStarter before this event? We'll get those votes in. Okay, some interesting results. All right, I'll give you all a few more seconds to vote. 3, 2, 1, and I'm gonna end the poll. Share those results. So it looks like the majority of you, 68% of you, had heard of SciStarter, and it looks like 30% of you hadn't. And that's roughly matching up with the question we just had. So it seems like maybe a lot of the Four Seasons folks might be newer to SciStarter, and those who came from elsewhere probably heard about it from SciStarter. So some interesting ad hoc data analysis there. All right, our last poll question before we get into the main event. Have you heard of citizen science before? Oh, wow. You all know a lot about it. That's awesome. Get those votes in. If you haven't heard of citizen science before, that's totally okay. This event is supposed to be an introduction. It'll give you everything you need to get started and moving real scientific research forward by doing real science yourself. But if you have heard of citizen science before, this event should hopefully give you some new interesting ideas about the field and allow you to take your participation to the next level. So we made the event on purpose, structured, so there's something for everybody. All right, I'm gonna end the poll in just a second. So 3, 2, 1, and I'm gonna end the poll. We'll share those results. So it looks like about 79% of you have heard of citizen science before, about 19% of you haven't, and 2% of you are unsure. And if you're tuning in on Facebook, don't forget, you're able to chime in through those Facebook comments. I'll be monitoring those periodically throughout the event just to check in on you. So feel free to make your voice heard there. Okay, so thank you for doing those polls with me. So I'm Caroline, I work at SciStarter. Darlene Cavalier, who you already heard, the founder of SciStarter, is my boss, but I get to do a little bit of everything at SciStarter. So I am just as likely to be talking to you all as I am to be talking to folks at the Verizon Corporation, our libraries from around the world, are even working with Girl Scouts to get them to do citizen science. So we get to do a lot of different really fun things at SciStarter, and our main goal is to get people involved in real scientific research, people of all ages. You could be 13 years old, you could be 130 years old, you can still get involved in science and do science. So the premise of SciStarter, why Darling Cavalier started it, is that millions of people enjoy science and nature. You probably count yourself in this group. Maybe you really love being outside and looking at butterflies. Maybe you're really intrigued by the brain and you want to understand how it works. Maybe you're into stargazing and you like to look for different constellations. You are in good company. There are millions of people like you. And the good news is thousands of scientists need volunteers. There are research projects that can't be accomplished without the help of the public. There are just too many things to discover out there. The world is too big for any one scientist, any one researcher to do it all by themselves. They need your eyes and ears. They need your perspectives, your ability to analyze, to help them come up with answers to the most pressing questions like, how does the brain work? Is our night sky being polluted by light pollution and disrupting circadian rhythms and people's sleep? Can we speed up a search for cures to different diseases by crowdsourcing them and allowing a bunch of different people to analyze data? Are bird populations declining? These are all questions that scientists can answer if you help them, if you volunteer your time to do science. But before SciStarter, they couldn't find each other. So we connect them. People come to SciStarter when they want to get involved and turn their curiosity about the world into real impact. And then researchers come to SciStarter when they're seeking a community to help them. So how do we think of citizen science? Citizen science is a collaboration between scientists and those of us who are curious, concerned, and motivated to make a difference. It's really a relationship. You are working with the scientists to make an impact. We're doing this together. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen at this point just to make sure there aren't any more questions. Wow, I'm loving everyone saying where they're calling in from. This is so great. I don't see any questions in the chat so far, but if you have any questions at all during this event, don't be afraid to put them in there. We'll make sure to get to them. And that goes for Lucy and Bonnie too. If you all have questions during the presentation, you can just interrupt me and we'll keep it conversational. But I'm going to show you all this brief video about what SciStarter is to get us started.
Citizen science can change the world. These programs mobilize people from all walks of life to contribute to scientific research, from teachers to artists, Girl Scouts to business professionals, students to retirees. Citizen science taps into the power of the people, where they are. Scientific data gathered by individuals and communities gives concerned or curious people, decision makers, and scientists access to more information than they could possibly gather on their own. Your contributions lead to breakthrough research, new approaches, and expedited scientific discoveries. So how can you start to make a difference? SciStarter makes it easy to find the perfect project for you. With a database of more than 3,000 citizen science projects to choose from, you can search by topic, location, age level, and more. Anything that sparks your curiosity is a mere click away. SciStarter can help you take valuable actions to contribute to the projects you're most passionate about. Their tools database provides you with exactly what you need to get started. And with events held across the nation throughout the year, SciStarter brings fun citizen science opportunities directly to you. Visit the SciStarter website to begin exploring the possibilities of scientific participation and create a personal account to receive project suggestions tailored especially for you. Together with SciStarter, we can all play a part in scientific research that can change the world for the better.
I like that video because it basically gets to the gist of it. And this graph actually came from a presentation that our colleague at SciStarter, Dr. Karen Cooper, did recently. She was showing what it means for different models of scientific engagement to be either contributory, collaborative, or co-creative. And all of this encompasses citizen science. So basically, you can be collecting samples. So you could be going outside and taking a picture of a bird and sending it to a research project, and that's a valuable data point. Or you could be analyzing samples or analyzing data. So I'll be showing you all a project later in the event called Stall Catchers, where you look at videos of mice brains and you're by indicating whether or not those blood vessels in those videos are stalled or flowing by making an annotation, you help researchers at Cornell University speed up the search for a cure to Alzheimer's disease. So you're literally analyzing data there. But engaging in science can encompass all sorts of different things. Different projects may have different instructions and different asks. So that's why you might be a little overwhelmed when you first heard in that video that there are 3,000 different projects, events, and tools to choose from. We try to make it a little smaller by doing events like these where we say, here are 3 projects we think you could get started with, or here are 1 or 2 that could be a good fit. The whole world is out there for you to explore, and there are lots of different projects added by lots of different people and different institutions that you can explore. Like I just mentioned Cornell University, right? The Stall Catchers Project. There are projects added by nonprofits around the world, our different community groups. Even the government will have different projects. NASA has a number of different citizen science projects, and sometimes an individual will start one. I could run my own citizen science project and add it to SciStarter if I want people to send in their observations about, I don't know, it could be seasons, it could be temperature, basically anything that you can study with science, everything from astronomy to zoology and everything in between, the entire world, basically, you can study with citizen science, and someone could come up with a good project, ask a real research question that they need people to either, collect, analyze data to help them solve, and they could add it to SciStarters or volunteers to choose to get involved with it. So I thought this cartoon was really funny. I also got it from our colleague, Dr. Karen Cooper's presentation. I think you'll be delightfully surprised by the quality of my work on this assignment. I crowdsourced it. And that's the thing. That's why I really like citizen science, because some of you, maybe, you may have been out of school for a while and you may not have done science, right? And your memories of it might be bad. You might think like, ooh, I didn't like taking all those tests in college. I didn't really like memorizing a bunch of facts about rocks. That's the amazing thing about citizen science and the scientific process. It's not about memorizing a bunch of things. It's not about, being graded or having stress and anxiety. It's about actually doing the science, following the steps of the scientific method, helping answer a research question by collecting data and coming to a conclusion from that data. So that's the beauty of crowdsourcing and the beauty of citizen science. It's all the fun of science, all the exploration, and it works. We have valid data that we can trust because of the crowd. Because of all of you sending in your observations, we're able to have a good assessment and a better picture of the world because of that. So I also like this graph, this video. It's about citizen science impact by the numbers. So I'm going to let you all see some statistics here. Is important because it shows the scope of citizen science, right? The sheer power of all these curious and concerned people sending in their observations, turning their curiosity into impact. I also wanted to show you all some of the things we now know because of citizen scientists just like you all. We know because of citizen scientists that bird populations have declined by 50% in North America. We know also, because of citizen scientists, that birds are breeding earlier than they used to. Because of citizen scientists, we know that 50 plus types of bacteria live in your belly button. We know, because of citizen scientists, that the first flowering of 19 species of plants has moved 9 days earlier over the past decade. Because of citizen scientists, we know that there's a new type of aurora in the night sky. And guess what? The citizen scientists, they named it Steve. We know, because of citizen scientists, that there's another Jupiter-sized planet out there that we wouldn't know about without curious and concerned people. Because of citizen scientists and the observations they've sent in about the world, we know that invasive mosquito species have arrived in Germany. And I also wanted to put this one in here. Because of people just like you, in one weekend in 2019, citizen scientists accomplished 2,566 research hours, or 3.5 months of lab equivalent research time for an Alzheimer's research project called stall catchers, which you're all going to learn about today. And you can find these opportunities on SciStarter. As you heard earlier, SciStarter connects citizen scientists to over 3,000 projects, events, and tools. And I really love this quote. I always put it on my presentations. Carl Zimmer at Discover Magazine said, SciStarter is like the Amazon.com of citizen science. It's the place you go to find what you want to volunteer for, find out what you want to explore. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a sec to check for some questions in the chat. Someone said, how do you vet the projects that you add to your project database? Is it by the organization or university history rating? Do most projects show the results of the research for us to review after the crowd search is done? So this is a really good question. So people add their stuff to SciStarter, and usually it's me or one of my colleagues who goes, it's submitted to us, and then we're able to review it. And we do a basic vetting. We see, do they seem like a legitimate project? Are they, doing what they say they're going to do? That being said, every once in a while, a project will unfortunately abandon their research. Maybe they lose their grant or something like that. So that's why we started the affiliate program at SciStarter. And I'm putting a link in the chat for all of you. Feel free to follow along with me. You can also type it in from your screen. If you go to scistarter.org/list/1208. So here it is right here, scistarter.org/list/1208. Sorry, 1208. We made this list with a few projects. So you asked, who vets the projects? We do a basic vetting for ones that are added to the project finder, but then we realized, especially as we are starting a bunch of programs with the Girl Scouts and the Verizon Corporation, with libraries around the world, with museums around the world, we wanted to go the extra mile with certain projects that had proven themselves. So we started our affiliate program. So on our SciStarter project finder, you can actually search for projects that are SciStarter affiliates. And out of the thousands of projects on SciStarter, only a few hundred have completed the process to become affiliated. What does that mean? It means that you can track the number and frequency of your contributions to these projects in your SciStarter dashboard. And it also means that these projects have opted in to be included in events like this one and provided me with extra images, and provided the whole SciStarter team with extra images, extra videos, other ways to engage people. And another part of that question was, do we hear the results? Affiliate projects are really good about communicating back their results. Some of the other projects aren't as much, and that's unfortunate. We ask at SciStarter when we add these projects to our database, please be communicative with your volunteers. Please let them know how you're analyzing the data and what you're doing with it. With affiliates, they do that much more regularly. I would say, let's give the example of stall catchers. Every data set that you analyze of Alzheimer's research data, they tell you what they found out. And they've actually put the stall catchers, the volunteers for this research project, as co-authors on scientific research papers. So affiliate projects are really, really good about this. And for the most part, those are the ones that I participate in because I like being able to go to my SciStarter dashboard as an account holder and to be able to see the scope of my participation, all the amazing projects I've contributed to, and to see numbers about, oh my gosh, I contributed this many times on this day. Or, wow, I've contributed like 500 times this year to affiliate projects. That's really impactful for me. So I really, if you all haven't yet, I request that you go to this list in your browser. So scistarter.org/list/1208. Because you can actually, on this page, I'll log out so I can show you the full scope of it. But on this page, you can make your SciStarter account. You can discover these 3 projects that we thought were a particularly good fit for people at the Four Seasons, as well as citizen scientists around the world. And you can also access an Introduction to Citizen Science tutorial that we offer in both English and in Spanish. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I think I saw another question. Someone said, where can I find that video of the numbers? That's on SciStarter's YouTube channel, so you can grab it from there. I'll also include it in the follow-up notes. Someone said, how do we get to the Facebook entry of this meeting in case we have to leave early and can't hear the full Zoom meeting? Don't worry, it's on SciStarter's Facebook page. I also posted it in the Facebook event for this, but I'll also email it out to you all afterward so you don't lose track of it. I'm loving these questions, everybody. Keep it up. It's great. Someone said, how can high schoolers use this experience to showcase their interest in science? Well, I'll tell you, anybody can use this experience to showcase their interest in science. So let's say I'm on this list page. I make this SciStarter account. I start monitoring pollinators with the Great Sunflower Project, monitoring weather and climate change with IC Change, and classifying Alzheimer's research data with stall catchers. Because these are all affiliate projects, I'd be able to go back to my dashboard, which you can get to from the top navigation on SciStarter, and I'd be able to keep track of participation statistics from all the affiliate projects I've done. So whether you're in high school or you're a retiree, you'll be able to go back and see, I've done this much, I've contributed this much. So just to be clear, those affiliate projects give you contribution and participation data. They don't tell you that you saw, like the bees and wasps as pollinators. They don't tell you that it was raining one day and you reported that. They tell you how many times you contributed. So that's just one thing to keep in mind with the affiliate program, and as you're keeping track of your participation, it's very high level participation statistics. But I really would love for you all to make your SciStarter accounts today, because it's kind of like your passport to this whole new world. It allows you to keep exploring. So before I explain the specific projects, and I get back to that, I wanted to ask Bonnie and Lucy, do either of you have any questions so far, or any epiphanies or thoughts? I know Lucy's been doing a ton of citizen science, and so has Bonnie, actually. Yes. Maybe Lucy, do you want to go first?
Well, I have been doing the stall catchers, and there's a tutorial to guide you along, and you're basically asked to identify whether or not the what would you call it, an artery, the blood is flowing through this artery, whether it's flowing well or whether it's stalled. And it's a little bit like a video game, as it says. And I seem to be good at knowing when it's flowing, and I do often know when it's stalled, but I have a hard time actually clicking on the place where it is stalled. So I'm still trying to perfect my technique there. But I think there is a little disclaimer on it that says, don't worry, just keep going. We'll make up for any shortcomings that you might have on this. I also recently downloaded the app on my phone for the IC Change. And I feel like that's a kind of a natural one for me because I'm always outside walking. So, I've been able to take pictures of a couple things. Sometimes I've been focused a little bit on the ducks in the pond and watching some unusual things that happen there with some turkey buzzards swooping down. But I'm sure now as we get closer to a season change, anything I notice with regard to the blooming of trees and or or perennials will be interesting to track. And I'm interested in hearing the one you're going to talk about with the the sunflower, since I have a grandson and he might like that. But I will mention too that maybe about once or twice a week I receive excuse me, an email linking me to a project that I might be interested in, and I can check that out. So
Yeah.
I think it's pretty neat. You know, you're able to see feedback on your dashboard about the things that you're participating in. And on this I See Change, I've been able to see what other people are posting, and maybe sometimes there's a little bit of a chat going on. So it's pretty cool.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing your experience, Lucy. Bonnie, I know you're a super citizen scientist too. Isn't that right?
That's right. And I'm really enjoying the projects. Most recently, I'm enjoying Feeder Watch, which is studying the birds. Either while it's cold, I can look right out my window and see them in the garden on the feeder, or when the weather's nice, I can sit on the patio and watch so many different breeds. I was never aware that we had so many different breeds right here in Smithville, New Jersey. And I was provided with a large chart to identify the different birds. And it's all about tracking bird migration to see which birds are still here in the winter. And some of my favorites are here. The bluebirds are still here. And to see how these birds interact is really amusing and fun. And at the same time, I'm learning and I feel like I'm contributing. So I send the results in. The way they have it set up is you do a 2-day study, and there has to be at least a 5-day gap in between these studies. And you report how many of each type of bird you have seen. And they also question the time of day and how much time you've spent. So that's a really fun thing to do, even in the winter. Last summer, my husband and I enjoyed iNaturalist, and we learned a lot about pollinators, especially butterflies. So we had planted milkweed because of the shortage of monarchs. So we were tracking how many monarchs we had, as well as many other kinds of butterflies, and so many beautiful butterflies. In that project, you take a picture and you submit the picture. And I just heard from iNaturalist today, got some feedback from another person, citizen science, and person who's doing some studies. And so I just really feel like I'm doing something worthwhile with my free time. I'm being entertained and I'm learning. And all of that's perfect, especially now when we're kind of isolated and looking for things to do. So
Definitely.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's such a good point, because it's bringing us together even while we're physically apart. You know, you submitted data to iNaturalist, you submitted what you saw outside, the birds, the butterflies, and then researchers are able to pull that together with other people's submissions from all around the world and really have a new understanding about the world. So that's such a beautiful sentiment, like that we're all able to contribute to something like this in our free time. That makes a big difference.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, thank you so much to both of you for being citizen scientists. And if you all want to be like Bonnie and Lucy, go to this list, make your SciStarter account, and get started with these projects. So the first one that we're going to feature today, so you heard Bonnie talk about Project Feeder Watch and iNaturalist. Those are projects that you can find on the SciStarter Project Finder. And actually, I think I'm going to add them to your list because those are really great ones to do too. But there's so many different projects to explore. iNaturalist is a great one for those who love to be outside and love to send observations of the outdoors. Project Feeder Watch as well for our people who love birds. That's an awesome one too. Great Sunflower. I picked this one to talk about today because Lucy mentioned that a lot of you all have grandkids and you want projects to do with your grandkids. So the Great Sunflower Project, the name is kind of a relic from an older stage of the project. They used to be focused on sunflowers, but now they've expanded it to all flowering plants. So whenever you see a flowering plant, you can just sit down next to it Maybe you're on Zoom with your grandkid or you're FaceTiming them and they're sitting next to a flowering plant where they are. You just sit there for at least 5 minutes and you count the number of pollinators that visit that flowering plant. And if no pollinators come, that's still a really important data point. 0 pollinators might mean that your area is in trouble or it doesn't have enough pollinators. And pollinators are really important. I remember when I was learning about the Great Sunflower Project, one statistic on their website that really stuck with me was that bees are responsible for every 3rd bite of food we eat. So bees give us about 1/3 of our food because of their pollination efforts. So the Great Sunflower Project, where you study pollinators, is a way that you can help researchers. And for this project, it's based out of a university in California, but you can participate anywhere on the globe. You're helping those researchers understand where pollinators might be doing well and where they might be in jeopardy. And on your SciStarter list, I actually included a link to a coloring sheet we made at SciStarter, because the cool thing about pollinators is it's not just bees. Bees may be the first one we think of, but butterflies are pollinators. Bats are pollinators. So this coloring sheet that we made at SciStarter, you can use it, you can color it yourself. I know I colored it myself, or you could use it with your grandkids to teach them a little bit about the pollinators that are out there. And then you can go out and take part in this important scientific activity of counting pollinators. So that's the first featured project on your list. The second one for today is I See Change. So I thought this one was a good one too, because you can do it anywhere in the world. And they basically want you to give the human impact of weather and climate. So they want you to say, what's happening in your neighborhood? What's happening in your community? So I'll give an example from Florida. In Florida, we sometimes have to deal with this thing called sunny day flooding, especially in South Florida, where out of nowhere, for some reason, your local sidewalk might flood. If I saw that, I would be able to take a picture of it and contribute it to I See Change. And I See Change, they are a really robust citizen science project that matches this qualitative data that you give, so the words, impressions, and pictures, with quantitative data from partners like NASA. And they're able to get a complete picture of what's going on with weather and climate. You could even just say, it's unseasonably hot today. It's usually not this hot in January. You can send that in as an observation. Just type what your opinion is of the weather and the climate today, or its impact on you. And that's a valuable observation on I See Change. And I know that Lucy's been doing a lot of I See Change, which is awesome. You can do it from anywhere in the world. I've done it just at my desk, where I've looked outside and I've been like, wow, it's really overcast today. And I've given that as an observation on I See Change. Or, you could say, it's snowing today. It usually doesn't snow at this time of year. They're trying to understand if anything wacky's going on, or even if it's completely normal. You can give that as an observation on I See Change, and that's an important data point as well. They want as much information as possible. And as Lucy said, one of the cool things about I See Change is you can see other people's observations as well, other data that they've logged, or other impressions that they've given. And they've anonymized it. So when I post on I See Change, it'll say that I'm posting from Indian Harbor Beach, Florida, but it won't give my exact address. That's to protect your privacy. But you're also able to kind of explore the world from this project. And you can participate with a smartphone, you can participate with a computer, whatever way you have to get on the I See Change website and enter your data. And you can get to it from SciStarter. So that's an important point we should make. Usually, when you find a project on SciStarter, even if it's a SciStarter affiliate, you go somewhere else to do it. So from that SciStarter list, you click on the Great Sunflower Project, and it would take you to their separate data form on their separate website. But the beauty of it is, for affiliate projects, if you sign up on that website with the same email that you use to sign up for SciStarter, all of your participation statistics will track in your dashboard. And we'll show you that in a sec. And last but not least, the project that we have featured today is Stall Catchers. Stall Catchers allows you to play a game to accelerate Alzheimer's research. Like Lucy said, you watch a short video of a mouse's brain, and you indicate whether or not you think the circled blood vessel is stalled or flowing. You know it's stalled when there's a persistent black spot in the flow of white that doesn't move. That's a stalled blood vessel. And believe it or not, by making that annotation, you're able to radically speed up the research process for these folks at Cornell University to help them search for a cure to Alzheimer's disease. So I'm going to stop sharing for a sec and see if any questions have come through. Someone said that they love Stream Selfie. I do too. That's an awesome project. You can find Stream Selfie on the SciStarter project finder. That's where you submit pictures and observations of streams to help folks understand where streams might be doing well and where they might be in trouble. So that's another project you can discover on the SciStarter project finder. So I'm going to share my screen. So let's say I've created my SciStarter account on this page, and feel free to follow along with me, everybody. Feel free to go ahead and make your SciStarter account. In fact, I encourage you. That would be awesome. So let's pretend I made my account. I know you all are making your accounts as we speak. And then stall catchers. That's the one I want to participate in. So I go to stall catchers. I can read a little bit more about it. There's some info about the research questions. There's info here about how I can get credit in my SciStarter dashboard for my participation. Let's pretend I've read all this and I'm ready to go participate. Here I am on stall catchers. I've actually already made my account. But if I didn't have an account, I could log out. I could join now. And if I use the same email to sign up that I made my SciStarter account with, everything will track in my SciStarter dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead and log in because I've had a stall catchers account for many, many years. And I'm going to start participating. So right here is a video of a mouse's brain. And we're supposed to look at the circled area and the flow of white in that circled area. If we see in that flow of white, which is a blood vessel, a black spot that never moves, we know that's a stall. I know this one's flowing, so I'm going to go ahead and say flowing. Oh no, it's leveling me up. Usually they give the easy ones to you when you first start. They have a few training ones to get you started. But because I've done stall catchers so much, it's already giving me the hard ones. So as you see right here, it's telling me your contributions are also credited in your SciStarter profile. That's because I use the same email to make both my accounts. All right, so for this next one, I'm going to put Lucy on the spot. Lucy, what do you think? Is this stalled or flowing?
I think it's flowing.
I have to agree. And we are correct. So you might be wondering, how does it know if I'm correct or not? Basically, what it's telling you there isn't really whether you're right or wrong. It's whether or not your answer agrees with the majority of other people who have classified this blood vessel. And that's how stall catchers is able to trust that research result. Because at least 10 people, I think, or more than that potentially, have analyzed each video. And stall catchers also uses some machine learning techniques to understand, like, some people's observations might tend to be more correct than others, so they'll weight those a little bit more highly. There's like a blue trust bar there that lets you know how highly your observations are weighted. And it looks like my trust bar isn't the highest in the world because I am often wrong. That's okay. Citizen science is about doing the best you can, and my observations still matter. And that's why I still contribute. And the cool thing about stall catchers is, let me analyze this one right here. I think this one's flowing. I'm looking closely. I don't really see any persistent black spots in the flow of white. I'm correct. But as you can see, sometimes for some of these stalls, they tell you how many people have analyzed it. So how many people have voted for stalled versus flowing. And you can also make your voice heard. And if you're like really vehement about something where you're like, I think the community's wrong and here's why, the stall catchers team, the researchers will go through this and monitor the chat. So you have a chance to kind of defend your response or discuss your response if you'd like. All right, let's do another one. So we're looking at this circled area. We're looking at the blood vessels, so the flow of white, and we're trying to see if there are any persistent black spots in the flow of white. I'm going to open this one up to Bonnie and Lucy. Bonnie and Lucy, do you think this is stalled or flowing?
I
And
say
it's okay not to know too.
stalled.
All right, we have a stalled. Let's see. So we think it's stalled. Where did you spot your stall?
How about up at the top? I don't know.
Or the black at the top, yeah.
So you look in the flow of white. So you try to follow that little blood vessel there. So it's going to be this one. And you try to see if in the flow of white, you see a persistent black spot that doesn't move. So this right here, that actually isn't a stall. That's just, brain space.
Oh.
Because we're monitoring this little blood vessel right here. The
I
flow
guess
of
it's
white.
flowing then.
I think it might be flowing, but let's answer stall for the heck of it and see what it tells us. No, it says the blood vessel is flowing. And they'll actually tell you where, so you have a few people who agree with you in the chat. And they're saying in frame 22, so let's go to movie frame 22, that they think there's a stall.
Yeah, right up at the top.
Yeah, I actually don't think that's, so I'll do another quick example. This video is not good. Let's just quickly get through this one. And that's the thing about research, right? Not all of the videos are going to be perfect. That's just part of like what you encounter in the lab. Another bad video. Okay, that one was stalled. Oops. And that's because I've kind of leveled up on stall catchers. I think this one's flowing too. All right, this is a better video. So we know it's a blood vessel when we see that flow of white. So the whole circled area isn't a blood vessel. There's a blood vessel within the circled area. So this right here is a blood vessel in the flow of white. And if there's a persistent black spot in that flow, so in this white line, if we saw a black spot that never moved, then we'd know that was a stall. Does that make sense? Or
A stall.
I think this is stalled too. Let's see if we're right. Incorrect. The blood vessel is flowing.
Oh.
But okay, so insider knowledge here. This person right here is one of the leaders of the project, one of the main researchers, and she actually thinks this one is stalled. So she's of the 822 people who voted for stalled versus the 6,000 who voted for flowing. So I agree with Egla, the main researcher. I think it's stalled. I think we were right, but that's okay. Let's do one more.
I understand also, Caroline, that you're supposed to analyze it in the direction that the circle is going. Because sometimes when you look at it, it's encompassing more than one blood vessel.
That's right. That's a really good point, Lucy.
Yeah, so I had to, go back over some of the instructions once to, review that with myself.
And that's the big thing about stall catchers. You kind of just have to keep doing it. And as you can see, my trust bar isn't the highest in the world because like my answers don't always agree with the crowd's. But even if you answer wrong, sometimes your observations are still really valuable and they're still speeding up Alzheimer's research. You're a part of a very important crowd, so to speak.
Carolyn?
Yes?
I watched a video where the scientist who came up with this game explained a lot about the game. The stall catchers is a game, video game, and how he came up with the idea. And I felt it was a very helpful video.
Definitely. We work with him. We actually have an event with him tomorrow if y'all want to come, where we're doing an Ask Me Anything event, where his name is the main scientist. One of them is Dr. Pietro Michelucci, and he does a lot of events with SciStarter. And tomorrow we're just opening up a Zoom line, just like this one, and we're going to ask members of like anyone who wants to register. So you all are welcome to register, and I'll put the link in the chat and email it out to you all if you're interested. But you can ask him any questions you have about the game. Like it could be as simple as, how can I get when I see two blood vessels in a video, how do I get better about figuring out which blood vessel I'm supposed to monitor? Or honestly, you can ask deeper research questions about it. My favorite thing to ask him about, I included this in the notes for your list, is about his community. So let's do one more classification before we kind of wrap up for today. And this time, I'm going to let you all vote in the chat. I want to know, do you all think if this blood vessel is stalled or flowing? And you know it's stalled when you look in that flow of light. So you see that blood vessel right there that matches the shape of the circle? We want to know, do we see a persistent black spot and the flow of light that doesn't move? If we do, then that's a stall. So vote in the chat, everybody. Do you think it's stalled or flowing? I think it's flowing, but I want to see what everyone else thinks. Do you all agree with me? Get your votes in. And Lucy and Bonnie, what do you think? Do you think it's stalled or flowing?
I think it's stalled.
You think it's stalled?
Agree, stalled.
All right, we have 2 stalls. Let's check the chat. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a sec so I can look at the chat. Oh my gosh, it looks like the jury's out. We got some people who think flowing. We got some people who think stalled. Someone says stalled in the Q&A function. All right, let me share my screen again. We have another stall that just came through in the chat. All right, we're going to go with what Lucy and Bonnie and the majority think. We're going to say stalled. Lucy and Bonnie, where do you think the stall is?
I think it's, wait a minute, right there, that's black spot right there.
All right, let's see.
Yeah.
The blood vessel's flowing. So the reason I think that is because if you look closely, it looks like that black spot's actually moving in the flow of light. It has to be like a really persistent black spot.
So you mean if there's a little tiny bit of white that you see coming through, that's okay?
Yeah, or if it seems like the black spot is moving down the vessel, then you know it's not stalled.
I think what sometimes is confusing is, you know, the blood is moving down, so it's not in that upper part anymore. And maybe that's why it's going to be dark, but you know, is it always dark? That's sometimes what is hard to determine.
Yeah, well, and that's partially why they have so many people doing this, because computers can't do this. If we're having such a difficult time, can you imagine how hard it'd be for a computer? It's impossible to automate just by computers at the moment. That's why we need human beings doing it. So thank you, everybody, for doing stall catchers with me today. And if you want to keep participating, you can find it on your SciStarter list. I'll also email you out all the link to find it after this event. If you're on Facebook, I'm going to be putting it in the Facebook comments, so you'll be able to find it there. And you can also join our event tomorrow. If you go to SciStarter.org/events, you'll be able to find it. I'll also put it in the follow-up email to ask the project scientist anything. Even if you, for example, even if you play today and then you come to tomorrow's event and you say, I was certain this was stalled and I want you to understand why this particular video was flowing, he'll be able to answer those questions too. You'll be able to ask him in the chat. So in conclusion, I wanted to tell you all about an exciting initiative coming up at SciStarter. It's called Citizen Science Month. Every April, we basically have a month-long extravaganza of citizen science. There's going to be something going on every single day. There are going to be featured projects, including the ones you learned about today, like stall catchers. You all could even make your own 4-season stall catchers team and compete against other people from around the world. And that goes for the other folks that we heard from earlier on the call, our friends tuning in from Australia, or our friends tuning in from Indiana. You can make your own stall catchers teams, or you can make teams for different projects, or you could organize events. I know some of you, like Bonnie, really like Project Feeder Watch. You could get your whole community doing Project Feeder Watch, add that event to SciStarter, and see if you can invite others to do it. That's the beauty of Citizen Science Month. Anyone can organize an event and effort to get others involved in citizen science. And you can learn more about that at citizensciencemonth.org. And we wanted to open up this opportunity to you all. We're Darlene Cavalier, the founder of SciStarter, Dan Stanton, who's an academic librarian from Arizona State University, and I are actually teaching a course called Become a Certified Citizen Science Facilitator. So in just 5 weekly classes, you'll be able to learn the basics of citizen science, engage in projects that need you, and then learn how to introduce citizen science to your friends, family, and communities. We'll basically teach you how to run your own events like this one, some of the things that have worked for us, some of the lessons we've learned along the way, and some of our ideas about how you can get others doing real scientific research. This course is offered with the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at Arizona State University. So it's for people 50 and older. And if you are, for the first 15 people who email us about this at info@scistarter.org, we will pay your course fee. So there is a fee to register for the course, but we're going to waive the fee because we know that this community who's on the line with us today, we know how awesome you all are. And we wanted to give you the chance to be involved in our class and become certified citizen scientist facilitators. So please email us at info@scistarter.org to get involved in this course. And last but not least, we want you to let us know how we did. So we have a survey. I'm going to put the link in the chat, but you can also grab it from the screen. It's bit.ly/4season survey. If you're watching on Facebook, feel free to go ahead and go to that link. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. So let me stop sharing my screen. And you can give us feedback like, you could have done this better, or I really loved this particular part of the event and don't you dare change it. Whatever feedback you want to give to us, we are here to listen to you. So please fill out that survey. And in our last 4 minutes, if you have any last minute questions, feel free to go ahead and ask. I'm going to leave the slide up with the survey so you can all go to that link. But I guess I'll quickly toss it to Bonnie and Lucy. Do either of you have any more questions or any final thoughts for us today?
Well, one question I have is on the sunflower project. It's called the sunflower, whatever, what was it called? Pollinators or?
Yeah, the Great Sunflower Project, which is misleadingly named because you can study pollinators of any flowering plant. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay, so it can be any flowering plant.
Yeah, it's called that because of historical reasons. It used to be just sunflowers and then they broadened it, but they couldn't change the name. So it's still called the Great Sunflower Project.
So really, I guess as we're all in quarantine, the lockdown or whatever, I guess you could do this with a grandchild remotely. Oh, I'm looking at this. What are you looking at? You know,
exactly.
Or even on FaceTime or Zoom or whatever. But yeah, that might be interesting to do. But okay, I wanted to just clarify that would be any flowering plant. Nice.
Definitely. Bonnie, do you have any other final thoughts for us?
I want to tell you about a very exciting part of the pollinator project we were doing was when we saw a caterpillar. Well, the caterpillar obviously had eaten our milkweed, and then we saw the chrysalis where the magic happens and the caterpillar turns into a butterfly, and the butterfly was hanging right there by our garden. So we never would have seen all that if we weren't constantly involved with this fun project. And it was very special. I have to put a plug in too, because Lucy wrote a book about the monarchs. And so I had the pleasure of illustrating it, and to see it actually happen before my eyes was wonderful. So all of this relates to our lives.
Right.
I love that. Yeah, that's such a good point. And you can combine, art with citizen science. Like maybe Lucy, you could write another book about how to become a citizen scientist.
Yeah.
I know Darlene wrote a book, The Field Guide to Citizen Science. And I think the citizen science book space, the more books, the merrier. And that's a good point. Thank you for bringing up books. If you all want to check out The Field Guide to Citizen Science, that'd be even if you just celebrate Citizen Science Month in April by reading that book, that's time well spent, in my opinion.
Yes.
But yeah, Lucy, the fact that you wrote a book about monarch butterflies, it shows that you are in that group of people who are curious about nature or love the natural world, which makes you such a great fit for citizen science.
Well, it's a story that aims to teach kids, and I now have an 8-year-old grandson who is he loves animals, and in our COVID world now, he has just spent a lot of time on his own just looking up animal facts. And so sometimes my daughter-in-law will tape him, it's called Nate's Animal Facts, and he'll put it on Facebook. So it's been kind of a neat thing, seeing how excited he is to learn new facts about animals, and how much he just, loves the whole animal world. And so the book has been something that I could share with him for sure.
And one fun fact is he could potentially, if he does the iNaturalist project, for example, the more observations, the better. He could potentially discover a new species. On iNaturalist, there have been new species identified by citizen scientists before, and there have been some species that were previously thought to be extinct that citizen scientists discovered. And you can do that at any age. So if he's out there looking up animal facts, tell him to go and maybe discover some new types of plants and animals.
Okay, great idea.
Whenever I present to kids, I often talk about the toilet weasel. You all should Google it. It's this Colombian weasel that was previously thought to be extinct, but a citizen scientist walked into their bathroom late at night one night, and they looked on the toilet, and there was this weasel just sitting there on the toilet. And he took a picture of it, put it on iNaturalist, and all the researchers said, "Oh my gosh, we thought this type of weasel was extinct. It's never been photographed alive." And the toilet weasel was born. So you never know when you're going to discover a creature and when you can submit an observation and log some data for citizen science.
True.
It looks like we're right at the end, so I'm going to stop sharing. It looks like no more questions, except Susan wants to know, can I get a copy to run for my virtual senior care program in suburban Philadelphia? Susan, I'll do you one better. I can zoom into your senior care program and do the same presentation, or do it with different projects that you all identify. I can have the same conversations with you that I had with Bonnie and Lucy, and we can pick out some projects for your community. Bonnie and Lucy, anything else before we end the event?
Well, let's see. Are you going to email everyone links to the?
That's right.
Oh,
I'm going to send you all the links that we talked about today,
okay.
so you can keep on participating.
Yeah, so that should be everything that everybody needs to know. If you get that, when you get that email, you'll see it. But I do thank you, Caroline, for such an interesting and informative presentation. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks to all of you. And I'm happy to do events with all of you during Citizen Science Month too. So I'm sure I'll see you all online sometime very soon. Have a good day. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Lucy.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.